Let's start our second part of the class, in which I will be trying to show you a real example using the Scrum framework. Just a short review from what we learned in the previous lesson. Here, it shows that the first step is the product backlog. But before the product backlog, I always say to my students that we have a pre-project phase in which you may have to analyze the business case, select the project. I usually suggest them to do a project charter. So can document the client's wants, needs, and requirements, and then go for a scope definition. And for me, the best tool to demonstrate the scope, to show the project scope, is the WBS. And then I would say you start your product backlog. The product backlog can be done based on the WBS. So the product backlog is a to-do list for the whole project, okay? A to-do list for the whole project. At the beginning of a sprint, and I call a sprint a execution cycle. It means that execution of some activities. So we move from the product backlog. You select, and here I will be using the word features, but could be requirements, could be deliverables. Select some features to be executed in that sprint cycle. From that sprint planning, we have a to-do list for that sprint. So the sprint is a fixed time. It's a fixed time in which you'll be trying to do the list of activities select for that sprint, for that fixed time. So usually, let's suppose that you have 2 weeks here. We start the sprint, we have a to-do list to do within 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, we stop. So some of the features will be finished, and you go for the product. So the finished requirements or features, I'm using the word features, go to the product increment. All the features that are not finished come back to the product backlog. And then once you finish, you have the review, retrospective, and then you can adapt and maybe add some features to the product backlog and so on. So that is the idea. So I will be showing you an example how to use that methodology in a real case. What is that example? Let me just provide a brief explanation of the example. So the example is about one element of a marketing plan. One element of marketing plan is promotion. That promotion belongs to a marketing plan. So we have a marketing plan, and from that marketing plan, we have the promotion, in which you usually develop promotional materials for a product. Okay, what are promotional materials? Can be ads, TV ads, can be posters, can be flyers, can be any material that is used to promote YouTube videos and so on. There is a list of several things that can be used to promote a product. In that specific case, is a movie, a film. Okay, we have a movie, maybe Batman, Star Wars. Okay, any movie. Okay, so every time that a film studio produce a film, they have to promote that film. And what we talk about here, it's a project in which it's developing the marketing plan, and within that marketing plan, we have the promotion. So that's the context of the example in which I'll be applying Agile Project Management. So let's suppose here that we have a WBS for that marketing plan. So we have several deliverables for that marketing plan. Okay, several deliverables and sub-deliverables. And here we have another that's called marketing mix. And within marketing mix, we have one deliverable called promotion. And in that promotion, we have sub-deliverables. Like, because we are doing a marketing plan for a movie, what are the typical promotional materials for a movie? We have trailers, film posters, slideshows, standees, cardboard, 30 seconds TV commercials, magazine and newspapers ads. So you can put some kind of placement, so some kind of insertion in some media. We have a film website, a social media presence, social media paid advertising, that insertion that appeared before YouTube video. So we can see here that we have a WBS for marketing plan, and we have here one part of that project that is promotion. Let's suppose that we take that from our WBS, so the WBS is the scope of the project, and we will be developing that promotional material using Agile. So to use Agile, that list of things, I can call that a product backlog. So take those things here, and I'll be calling that a product backlog. It means the to-do list for that specific promotional material. Okay, that's the to-do list for the promotional material. So let's look how we can do that. So we have here that product backlog, And now so that product backlog may be a piece, a section of your WBS, can be the whole WBS, or if you're not using the WBS, your scope of your project, so requirements, wants, needs of your client. At the beginning of the first sprint, so the sprint has 2 weeks, in that case here, 2 weeks. It's a fixed time, fixed duration, okay? So at the beginning, on the first day, you have a meeting called sprint planning. In that meeting, you do some stuff. You select some components of your project to be executed. Let's suppose in that project, the client select trailers, that was here, they select film website and social media presence. So he took 3 components of the project, So that's the first day. So they put the team together and they start working. Not in the whole project, not in the whole project, but just on these 3 components of the project. Therefore, they move that for the sprint, and during 2 weeks, someone will be working on the trailers, another person in the social media presence, another one in the film website. So they will be working 2 weeks. At the end of that week, that 2 weeks, they have daily meetings, scrum meetings, 15 minutes. So the team is together to discuss the development of the product and some roadblocks and what's going well, what needs to be fixed, and so on. But anyway, after the 2 weeks, we stop. There is a stop, the end of 2 weeks. And here we may have some components that were finished, were complete. Film website and social media presence. And that you can add to the promotional material and release those 2 components. So you can put the film website available on the internet, create social media presence on create accounts for Facebook, for Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, okay? So you have a website and a social media presence that can be released. So the client and the clients of your clients, that people that the audience of that movie can provide some feedback. But also there are one component in that example here that was not finished. And that component that was not come back to the backlog. Okay, not finished and come back to the backlog. That is the end of the first sprint, the first execution cycle. So in that execution cycle, you start with the sprint planning. They select 2 elements, three components, trailers, film website, and social media. They work on these 3 components during 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, they stop and say, okay, we are able to finish the film website and the social media presence, but we were not able to finish the trailers. And show that to the client. And the client come back and say, oh, okay, I like that, but I have another thing. There is a International Film Festival in Toronto, Canada, and I want to participate in that festival. He can add a new feature, a new requirement now. So can you create a package so I can submit my registration to show the film in the Toronto International Film Festival? And here is a major concept in that adaptive project management methodology. Because after 2 weeks, you can come back, check with the customer, and maybe change a little bit the scope. And from now, you start working on the second sprint. The second sprint now, so we have the sprint 2 planning. And again, you start, and the trailers are here. You want to finish the trailer. So maybe the team decide to finish the trailer. The customer say, no, I want the trailers. The customer could have said, I don't want the trailer. They can drop the trailer from the next execution cycle, but the client decides to keep the trailer. And now there is a chief festival submission package and social media paid advertising, those insertion that will be posted in the social media, in all the social media projects. And here we have 3 components. And we start planning, we select these 3 components to work in the second cycle, in the second week. Let's suppose that the first sprint, like say during the sprint, it was from October 1st to October 15th. That's the first execution. Then the second sprint will go for October 15th to October 30th. What we'll be doing during that period, October 15th to October 30th, we'll be working, finish the work on the trailers, work on social media advertising, and Toronto International Film Festival submission. Stay 2 weeks, 15 October, 16, 20, 25, October 30th. Stop the second cycle of execution, and they stop and see, oh, we now, after the second sprint, we are able to prepare the trailers and the social media paid advertising, but not the Toronto Film Festival submission. So now the client has 4 things that have value for them, the four elements, so they can see those components, they can provide feedback on those components, the audience of the film can provide some feedback on that component, and from there, you can start planning the third sprint number 3, the third cycle of execution. And again, we'll be starting the third cycle in which they will be selecting some other components. So they will pick the components that the customer say, I want this, that, and that. Usually the product owner are the person that will be telling, oh, that's a high priority, that's a low priority, let's do the high priority first. And so they will bring that from the product backlog, move that to the sprint backlog, and during the third sprint, that now would be 1st of November to November 15th, you have that third execution cycle, and you will be picking up maybe some elements here, execute. So you'll be releasing some features, some components, and go for the fourth cycle, and so on. So that's the idea of Agile Project Management. Very high level idea, very high level.